Okay, good morning. We're up to Erev Good and Erev Shevuous. We're up to Lamed Amid Days, about 5 lines up. Tan Rabbanan. Minayin l'dayin shlo yases sanigurin l'dvarav. How do you know a a dayan should not become protective of his words? We'll see what that means in a second. Talmud loymar midvar sheket tirchak. So saniguria means like a melitz, like saniguria, you have a kateger, nasa sanega. Sanega, so you're protective. So you should be protective of your words. It's a very hard Rashi over here. Says Rashi, Layasa sanigurian ledvarav, im don din, if he judges the case, v'libay noikfoi, loimar, and his heart is fluttering, he's not sure, shu toya, whether he made a mistake or not. Layachzik b'dvarav, he should not go ahead and be machzik in his words, lahevi rayis lahamidam, to bring proof to go ahead and keep his word established. Shu boish, because he's embarrassed, lachsar. El l'chol stadim yachsar lahoitzi din lamitai. So Rashi says a person, if he has any suffix in his psak, it's going on the dayan. It's going on the dayan. If he has any question about a psak, he shouldn't go ahead and continue to go ahead and support it simply because he's embarrassed to say that what he made a mistake. So Marsha over here, not exactly totally sure what he's saying, but he has problems with Rashi. It would seem to be, according to Rashi, like what it's you're being sata mishpat. It's not midvar sheket tirchak. There's an issa for going ahead and corrupting a din. If you're not sure, right? If you're not sure, then exactly what are you saying? You know, if I'm not sure, I shouldn't go ahead and make myself sure. If that's be corrupting the din. That's not midvar sheket tirchak. So that's a problem that the Marsha has with Rashi. The Rambam, very interesting, and here's the lashon. The Rambam is in Hilchas Sanhedrin, Chaf Aleph from Sanhedrin, Halacha Vav, Minayin L'dayin, Shal Yaseh Melitz L'dvarav Shal Bal Din. Not that it's going on the words of the dayan, but how do you know the dayan should not be a melitz, not be a protector of the words of the baldin, right? Shenemar midvar sheket tirchak. In other words, if you go ahead and you hear a litigant saying something, and you will be able to go ahead and support what he's saying, don't do it. Midvar sheket, no, don't do it. Okay, that's the Rambam. So according to Rashi, main difference is, according to Rashi, it's going on the words of the dayan. According to the Rambam, it's going on the words of the dayan, protecting the words of the baldin. The Torah also says it's like the Rambam, that it's going on the baldin. Okay, so that's we're gonna get like bullet points here, like these, like this, like bullet points. So the first one, Minayin l'dayin shlo yasis sanigurin l'dvar Talmud laymar midvar sheket tirchak. Uminayin l'dayin shlo yeshev Talmud bor lefanav. You shouldn't have a Talmud who's an Amoritz in front of him, who's a bor. Talmud laymar midvar sheket tirchak, because you may have to consult with him. Minayin l'dayin sheyod lechaver shu gazlan. How do you know if you know that your friend, your fellow dayan, is a gazlan? And an aide who knows that his friends, his fellow witness is a gazlan. How do you know you shouldn't be mitzaref with them? What's the chiddush, fellas? Rashi. Even though you know it's true. So in other words, it's a no-brainer. The dayan's a no-brainer. The aide's a no-brainer. How do you know you should not go ahead and combine with that individual? Right? Talmud laymar midvar sheket tirchak. It says midvar sheket tirchak. Stay away from sheker. Again, you see, guys, midvar sheket tirchak, you touch midvar. I think we should better way, an elevated way of touching it is midava sheket tirchak. Midvar sheket tirchak you would mean like you can't say, right? Say, don't lie. A better translation would be, guys, midava sheket tirchak. From a matter of sheker, distance yourself. You hear what I'm saying? All these cases over here has nothing to do with what you're saying. It has to do with an inyan of sheker. Midava sheker, from a matter of sheker, tirchak. You should go ahead and keep away from that. How do you know he knows the din is untrue? Listen. The Eidim are testifying, right? Let them say their testimony, and I'll go ahead and paskin the din based upon the testimony. And let the avera be totally in the edim. No, it's you edim want to go ahead and do it. I'm going to paskin based upon what you say, and if you like, okay, so you'll pay the price. Tamad Leiman, midvar sheket tirchak. Very good. Again, I think it really does enhance things. Midava Hashem tirchak makes things much better. You're asking guys. Midava sheket tirchak. Like it says, stay away from matters of what of sheker, not necessarily limited to your dibur. Simin is tilsa talmidei v'tilsa ba'alei chayiv smartut zereg shemei umatim. Minayin l'talmid sheyoshef nei rabbi v'roi schus la'ani v'chayiv la'asher. How do you know you have a talmid that's sitting in front of his rebbe and he sees a schus for the ani and a chayiv for the asher? Minayin shelo yishtak. He shouldn't go ahead and be quiet. Maybe he's intimidated because of the asher. Talmud leima midavar sheket tirchak. They should stay away from. And if you Rashi says v'royas chus v'rabbi hichlef, and he sees this Rebbe being machlef the other way, don't be intimidated, but stay away. Keep midvar sheket tirchak. Don't be scared to open your mouth. Minayin l'talmud shores rabbi shetoyi b'din. He makes a mistake. Shlo yomar amtim lo yachig merenu. I'll wait till they complete the din, vasterenu, and then I'll overturn it. Vabenenu mishali, and I'll build up the din through myself. Kadesh yikra hadin al shmi. You know, he wants to go ahead and bring, compliments to himself. Talmud midvar sheket tirchak. Minayin l'talmud shoyim alei rabbi yadeya ata bi. I know she'im noisnan li meya mana. The Rebbe says to his talmud, how do you know? You know that if they would give me 100 mana, huge sum of money, Eini mevadim, right? I would never lie. So your Rebbe tells you, I would never lie if they gave me X amount of money, and you know it's true. You know it's true. There's no question that it's true. That if your Rebbe is telling you something, that you believe him. And the Rebbe tells you, Mana yeshli eitzel pliny. I have a mana by so and so. The ainly alav ela eid echad. However, I can't be mitzvah the money from him because they only have one aid to this loan. Minayin shlo yitztaref imoy. How do you know the Talmud cannot be an aid? Even though you know it's true, there's no way in the world your Rebbe would lie. You know your Rebbe unequivocally is owed the money. There's no question. How do you know, however, that it's asa for you to go ahead and say edis that this person owes your Rebbe that 100 mana? Says the Gemara, Talmud Leimen midvar sheket tirchak. It says midvar sheket tirchak, right? Fred the Gemara, Hai midvar sheket tirchak nafka. Like we spoke out yesterday, right? The Rebbe Chaim Shmulevitz. You wouldn't need it anyway, but now there's a bigger reason because there's a shrew on it. Forget about mitzvah sheket tirchak. It's musavart. It's like Sana B'Yachet Shaka. You're over on in the Big Ten. You're over in the Big Ten. How can you go ahead and say this? You don't know it's true. You can't be mayor that he owes him the money. You're all being samech what your Rebbe tells you. So what do you tell me? It's an Indian midvar sheket tirchak. It's much worse. It's like Sana B'Yachet Shaka. It's not an asay midvar sheket tirchak. It's one of the aseres adibis, one of the tenets of Judaism. Like Sana B'Yachet Shaka. How can you possibly entertain that you go ahead and testify because the Rebbe, even if you know it's true, you believe your Rebbe, but you're lying. Ella, you're right. That's not the case. Ella, you know what? You know what he wanted to say? The following. Ella Kigoin, the Amalei, the Rebbe says, Vadai chad sada isli. I got one aid. V'toy ata, and you go, kum hasam, v'lei taim of midi. Don't say anything. The halay mafkes mi pumcha shikra. So go join the aid. Don't say anything so you won't be over on lewat like sana b'yachet shaker. Just be with him, and you'll stand there. Afilu hachiyasa. Mishum shnei malvash sheket tirchak. Does anyone have a problem with this? What are you doing? Are they going to ask you, do you need midaraisa? You need drisha chakira by Eidei Mominus also. The only reason you don't do it is because like Shaitinal Delis, they love him. You can't, if two Eidim come, you're both going to have to open your mouth, right? So what did you gain with this? So I had a problem with this. But Baruch Hashem for the Rambam. So guys, here's my problem. The Rebbe says to him, listen, you know I wouldn't lie to you. You know that he owes me $100, but I only have one aid. Go join the aid and stand in front of Bezdin. And stand there. So what did you gain? Eventually you're going to have to open your mouth. So look at the Lashon of the Rambam, guys. Look at the Rambam. He adds a little kinech. It's beautiful. Here's the Rambam. Okay, the Rambam is in Is the Rambam is in Hilchos. The Rambam is in Hilchos Eidos. Perik Yud Zayin Halacha Yud Ches. Here's the Rambam. Okay, what does he say? Perik Yud Zayin Halacha Ches. Talmud Sha'amalei Rabbi. Yodeya Ata Shem Noisonli Kol Mamen Sheba Olam. He doesn't even say, even they give me all the money in the world, that ain't even shakar, I wouldn't lie. Mana Yeshli Eitzel Plaini. I have a mana by so and so. V'yeshli alav eid echad l'cha v'tzaref imo. Go ahead and join with him. In the staref, harizeh eid sheker. If you mitzaref, you are an eid sheker. Guys, this is like sana breach eid sheker. This is not, guys. This is not midvah sheker tirchach. This is like sana breach eid sheker. You're an eid sheker. That's the first case. Amaloi ba v'amad im ha'eid. Go stand with him. V'lei sayid. Don't testify. But why should you stand there? The loiva should see and get scared. And he's going to think he's going to think you're two edim. And he's going to go ahead and admit it himself. You can't make believe you're an aid, even if you're not going to testify. The Rambam gives us the answer, guys. Look what the Rambam says. The reason you're going there is you're going to fool the guy. He's going to think the loiva. 1 second. The loiva is going to see two people there. You're two edim, and he's going to admit the truth. Guys, you see what the Rambam did? He added a few words from the Gemara that we didn't have. He added his own pirish. He said the reason why it's spread the Gemara kasha. You can't be made a sheker, so it's leisana breachet shaker. And for the Gemara, I'm not asking you to testify anything. So what are you doing there if you're not going to testify? The answer is go ahead and you're gonna make the guy. The answer is you're gonna fool the guy. The guy's gonna think 1 second. Wow, there's two Adam coming over here. I better admit the truth. I got nothing. So in other words, we're not asking you to testify, but it's what's the English word for it? It's a scam. Hesha, you got a word for it?
Yeah, an impropriety, an appearance of an impropriety. That's what the lashon is.
Okay, our forensic accountant got us. It's an impropriety. I'm going to set the guy up, but basically we're setting the guy up. So that you can't do. But I think I always lost the Rambam. Guess in learning, it's always good when you don't have a little clarity. Just look at the Rambam sometimes. He adds something that over here he's mefarish the Gemara, right? It's beautiful, the lashon that you're gonna go ahead and set the guy up. Very geschmack. I liked it very much. Right in the Gemara. So that's mefarish shekatecha. Minay lenoishe bechaver mana. How do you know if you're owed from your friend 100? Shalayomer. You shouldn't say the following. Now, Midoraisa, this is Shua Moider Mikzas, this is Shua Sa'edis, this is Shua Sa'shaimer. This is Shua Daraisa. Shua Darabanan, if you cry for Bakol, we've put Shua Darabanan on you. Good? You cry for Bakol, it's Shua Darabanan. So here's the following. Your friend owes you 100. Shlo Yoimar et Enu b'Masayim, I'll go ahead and claim 200. He only owes me 100. But I'll claim 200. Kenny, Laman Aleph and base 2 lines there with the fat where it gets wide. So you shouldn't say et enu. I'll trick him. B'masayim. Kidei sheyoydali b'mana. V'yischayev lishvua. Good. So what am I going to do? I am only on 100. I'll go to Bezdin. I'll say you owe me 200. And what's he going to say? I don't owe you 200. I only owe you 100. What's the halacha then? He's chayiv midaraisa shvua moeder mitzvahs. Now, let's say there's other things I have on this guy, but he wouldn't swear. But now you have the concept of Gilgal Shua. Once you're swearing a Shua Deraisa, I'll go ahead and be Magalgal all the Shuas. This is the Vasheka, don't do it. So that's the Malva. What about the Loiva? How do you know if you owe your friend 100? He claims 2. Don't say that I'll be koy from Bezdin, I don't owe him anything. You owe him 100, but I don't want to make a shua meidah mixer. So what I'll do, I'll say I owe you nothing. Again, I want to avoid a shvua, so don't say that. The guy claims 200. You only owe him 100. So what do you say? You know what? I'll say I owe nothing. I'll avoid the shvua outside of Bezdin. I'll give him the 100 because that's the truth. But meanwhile, by saying that you owe nothing, that's the Dvar Sheka. I'm worried they're going to shua made the mikzas, and then he'll throw other shuas on top of me. Right? So again, very, very bullet points, like I told you, from the sugya midvar shekatircha, bullet this halacha, this halacha, this halacha, this halacha. Minayin l'shloisha shenoisa mana be'echad, a person that they're owed 100, three guys are owed 100 by a certain individual. Shlo ye'echad baldin, that one of them should be the baldin, ushnayim eidim, and two of the people should be eidim. Kidei sheyotzi mana, they should go ahead. They'll go ahead and listen. We'll go ahead. I'll make Reuven, Shimon, Velevi. Reuven will be the Baldin. He'll make the claim on Harry. And Shimon, Velevi will be the Eidim. Now, the Apostle Eidus, right? They're a gay Eidus, the Apostle Eidus. How do you should do this? Tamalem midvash shekatircha. Minayin the Shnayim Shabola Din. Echad Lavush Smartutin. One guy comes to court, he's wearing rags. The Echad Lavush, it's the list. Basma, one of the guys wearing the good suit, the good Brooks Brothers suit from Barney's, with the good cut, right? The lapels, everything's good. So you're going to look at, they're going to come in front of the court. We're going to look at one guy in rags, one guy in this. It's going to shine a person's a person. What are they going to judge the case? You know what you got to do? You know what you got to do? You, the Barney suit, you either dress like him in the rags, or you'll be shu kamaischa, or take him to Barney's and dress him like you. That's what you have to do. Amazing thing that you shouldn't go ahead. That's the lashon of smartutin. You should go ahead and make it equal the playing grounds. Ki havi asl kamei de Rava, when a court case will come in front of Rava, Bei Rav Huna, when Rava ki havi asl kamei de Rava bar Rav Huna, Amalahu, he would tell the people, Shlufei piz mukaichu, take off your fancy shoes, v'choisei ladina, and I'll judge a case. So in other words, see that when it comes to din, you want to go ahead and be machriya that it should be all equal. You shouldn't listen to the one litigant before the other one shows up. How do you know you shouldn't clarify his words before the other guy's there? Rav Kana Masni, he learns from Leisisa. Leisisa is mashma that what it's going on the dayan. And Leisasi is mashma what's going on. You should not cause. Leisasi, we could read it. Leisasi, it's going on the baldin. By you presenting your case, you might go ahead. So therefore, Leisisa, the dayan shouldn't hear it. Leisasi, the litigant should not go ahead and explain and express it. Pasuk in Cheskel, Bashaloi Toiv Asei B'Toich Amav. Ravam Mezeh Habar B'Hasha. Someone comes with a power of attorney. Ushmula Mezeh Halokeach Sada Sheish Lo Vasikim. Okay, let's see what this means. Okay, now, power of attorney is permitted. So why is this considered Davish Lei Toiv? So look at Tosfos. Zeh Habar B'Hasha. Kisha Bishvil Shehu Oleim. The guy's doing it because he's a powerful fellow. Ubal Tainus, and he's a good lawyer. Shemis Avral Riv Leiloi, he's going to fight a fight that is his. In other words, he's just coming because he has the capability of fighting. But if a person is involved with a very difficult litigant and he's difficult to get money out of him, and this person is capable of getting money out of him, then it's a mitzvah. So if you're able to go ahead and help a person out, that's a power of attorney. The case that we're speaking about is where a guy just does it like for his own jollies. He's a really powerful guy, and he's get involved. I'll go fight your fight. But the other guy will also be able to do it without you. He doesn't need the guy. But where he needs the guy, then it's a mitzvah to go ahead and help him out. Okay, a field of asikim, Rashi tells us, is people on the field. There are questions about the questions. There are people making claims on that field. There are people making claims on the field. Rashi says, "Asikim is oirim, complainers. K'moi hishaska imim pashas told us shema'arim al hamachzik the ma'arim on the wells that Yitzchak had dug. B'zeh ba v'koin oisa, this person buys the field. U'bayteach al cheskoi shu ish zerua, and he's bayteach on this guy's chazaka because he's a strong guy. But that's davish le'toif. If there's a seeker on the field and you know about it, not a good thing to go ahead and sell the field. Okay, we said in the Mishnah that Shevuous Eidus is only noyig by people who roy lehayid. What is roy lehayid? Meaning lafuke mai, to exclude who else? Amar Papa lafuke melech. A melech's not roy lehayid. Rav Acha bar Yaakov Amar lafuke mesachik bekuvia, a gambler. Mandel mesachik bekuvia, which is a din derabanan. Kol shekei melech, it's only a melech. Mandel melech, aval mesachik bekuvia midaraisa michsa chazei, rabbanan hu de paslua. So therefore, according to one who says melech, mesachik bekuvia, in fact, would be roy for Shevuous Eidus. B'fnei bezdin shloi b'fnei bezdin. Okay, so this is the rest of the daf, guys. Let's get this straight. We have machlokes in the Mishnah. Go back Lamed Amud Aleph. So 4 lines down. El b'roy lehayid b'fnei bezdin ushalei b'fnei bezdin b'fnei atzmai. So if you yourself are making the shvua, it can even be shaloi b'fnei bezdin. But if other people are making you swear, ein chayav mashichapu behen bebezdin. Divrei Reb Meir. So Reb Meir says b'fnei atzmai shvuas eidus can be shaloi b'fnei bezdin. The Chacham moimrim bein b'fnei atzmai or bein b'fnei acherim ein chayav mashichapu bebezdin. So says the Chachamim, afilu b'fnei atzmai, it's only in front of bezdin. Shvuas eidus, so it comes out. According to Reb Meir, it's possible Shevuous Eidus should be what? Shaloi b'fnei bezdin. That's what if you're swearing yourself. If a guy claims to you, Eidus, Eidus to me, and he goes, I swear I don't, that can even be, according to Reb Meir, Shaloi b'fnei bezdin. If he says, I don't know Eidus for you, and then the Acherim say, swear to that fact, and he says, Amen, or he says here, then that has to be in bezdin. Says the Chachamim, I feel the first case has to be in bezdin. It doesn't make a difference. Right now, what's the svaras hamachloikis? Where do they get their shitas from? What's the svaras hamachloikis between the two? Okay, that's the Gemara that we're about to see. Now, one of the shuas of the Torah is the shuas hashomrim, right? The shuas that you have at the cotton, and the guy says, where is it? Where is it? And you say lahadam, it never was. You want to swear to that fact. You have to. Okay, the shuas hapikadon that you watched it. You weren't sholech bayad, you didn't use it, and then you get off the hook. That's called Shevuous HaPikadon. The Shevuous HaPikadon have to be b'fnei bezdin. The Shevuous HaPikadon have to be piacherim. So we're going to go ahead and compare Shevuous Eidus to Shevuous HaPikadon and say that must be the svaras hamachlokas between Reb Meir that shaloi b'fnei bezdin b'fnei atzmo is okay, and Chachamim who said that it's not okay. Says the Gemara, b'may kamiflagi, Lamed Aleph Amud Aleph. 6 lines up. Amru Rabbanu Kamei de Papa. They're arguing bidoin mina, learning from it, umina, and continue to learn from it. Okay, so we've had this many times. Many times. So far in Yevamis, Baba Kama, Sanhedrin, Zvachim, Chulin. That again, what does that mean? When you learn Gzeir Shava, do you learn one din that you're seeking to learn, and it stops there? That's doik mina for ukiya basra, and you leave it, or no? Once you're learning it, you continue to learn. Doik mina, you learn from it. The umina, and you continue to learn from it. Good. So now here's what's going to happen. We're going to learn one thing from Shevuous Eidus from Shevuous HaPikadon, and the question is, after we learn that one thing, do we continue to learn from Shevuous HaPikadon to Shevuous Eidus, or no? Do we just stop over there? Says the Gemara. B'may kamifki, Amar Rabbanu Kamei de Rav Papa, b'doik mina umina. B'doin mina v'ukiya basra, kamifki. Reb Meir sava, doin mina umina. We learn from it and we continue to learn from it. Mipikadon, we learn Shevuous Eidus from Shevuous HaPikadon. Ma pikadon mushba mifnei atzmoi chayiv, just like there. By Shevuous HaPikadon, it's a shvua that you yourself make. Asher Yishua love. It says Asher Yishua love. That's mashma he's making himself. Chayev. Af edis mushba mipi atzmai chayev. Umina. Ma pikoden bein b'fnei bezdin bein shloi b'fnei bezdin. Af edus bein b'fnei bezdin bein shloi b'fnei bezdin. So therefore, the first part is the mina. You're going to learn out that what? That there's such a thing as mush. Again, fellas, yesterday we made the. Look at me, guys. Remember we said yesterday, V'shama kol Allah, that the classic case of Shevuous Edis is where they're making you swear. Shama kol Allah, you're hearing, and that you always shua and you make a shua. So it's not speaking about you yourself are making the shua. It's speaking about where they're requesting you make a shua. How do you know where you yourself make the shua without them saying swear to that fact? How do you know? That you need a limit from Pikadin. Because again, Shevuous Edis, the pasuk's mashmois, only when other people are making you swear. How do you know you yourself? If you yourself swear, how do you know? That's from Shevuous HaPikadin. Because Shevuous HaPikadin, the mashma, the lashon, the pasuk, Asher Yishba Allah is mashma, you're swearing ba'atzmai. So just like Shevuous HaPikadin, you're swearing ma'atzmai, so to Shevuous Edis, you're swearing ma'atzmai. Everyone makes that limit, guys. Everyone does. So now you know by Shevuous Edis, there's such a thing as swearing by me'atzmai. What about Bezdin? What about Bezdin? Shevuous Edis is only l'chayra, right? Would only be mashmiya, would be in Bezdin. How do you know if the atzmai is not in Bezdin? That's if you continue to learn from Shevuous Pikadon. And that's what Rameya does. So Rameya learns, guys, doik mina, there's such a thing by Shevuous Edis, Shevuous Atzmai like Pikadon. Umina, and just like Pikadon is chutz lebezdin, so too mifnei Atzmai will be chutz lebezdin. And that's whereas the Chacham would say doik mina for uki abasra, just learn out mifnei Atzmai, and that's it. You don't have to make the second step to say that has to be outside of Bezdin. Says, let's see it in the Gemara. Ma'api Kodin, 4 lines up. Bevezdin ubein shloi b'vezdin, af edus bein bevezdin bein shloi b'fnei bezdin. That's the limit of Reb Meir. Rabbanan Sava doik mina vuki basra. Learn out one thing and keep it in its place. Ma'api Kodin mushma v'piatzma yichayev, just like Pikodin mushma v'piatzma yichayev, af edus mushma v'piatzma yichayev. So to edus mushma v'piatzma. That's it. Fuki Abasra, Mamushma Vicherim Bezdin in Shlei Bezdin Loi, Ach Mushma Viatzmoi Bezdin in Shlei Bezdin Loi. Okay, so that's some place. Okay, so one more time. Let's go through it one more time. In the Parsha Shevuous Edis, it's mashma only in Peyacherim. Shama Kol Allah. In the Parsha of what? In the Parsha of Pikadon, it's even with Neatzmai, Asher Yishav Olav. I will go ahead and learn out Gzeir Shava, Edus, from Pikadon. Just like Pikadon Mifnei Atzmo works, so too by Edus, Atzmo works. Good, great. What about now, is that it? If that's it, that means this is only Bebezdin, because it doesn't say anywhere by Eidos, Shevuous Edis, Chutz Lebezdin. It only says that by Pikadon. So if I'm only going on one thing from Pikadon, then I'm limited Shevuous Edis to its Parsha. This Shvua, Mifnei Atzmai, is only in Bezdin. That's the Chachamim. Because Doik Mina, Vuki Abasra. Reb Meir says, no, Doik Mina, you're going to learn from Pikadon, but Umina, and continue to learn from Pikadon. So just like Pikadon is Me'atzmai, so too Shevuous Edis is Me'atzmai. Just like Pikadon is Chutz Lebezdin, so too the Shvua b'fnei Atzmai of Edis can be Chutz Lebezdin. That's the limit we want to say. Okay. Amid Beis. Amalu Rapapa. Imi Pikadon Gamila, if you can learn out Mad from Shevuous HaPikadon, Gamila Rabbanon, Kulyamule Pligi Didoin Mina Umina. If that's your source, the Gezer Shava, even the Chacham would be Moida that Mifnei Atzmai Chutz Lebezdin would be okay. Elahaim the time of the Rabbanon, the Rabbanon do not learn from the Gezer Shava. They Maisi Lo B'Kal V'Chaymer. They bring a Kal V'Chaymer from the Parsha of Shevuous Edis by itself. Uma B'Fnei Mipei Acherim Chayev. If someone else makes you swear you're Chayev, if he Atzmai L'Kol Shekain, if you offer up a shvua that you don't know, guys, Madach, where a person says, swear to me, you didn't offer up a shvua, but a person said, swear to me, and you swore you chayiv Shevuous Edis, certainly where you offered up the shvua yourself, without the need for other people making that request, you'll be chayiv. You'll be chayiv. So Reb Papa is not coming onto Pikadon at all. He's staying independently within the parsha of Shevuous Edis. and saying it's a kal v'chomer. Madach, you want to know mifnei atzma, even though the pasuk is mashma or shama kol Allah is only mashma piacherim. Once you go ahead and know it exists, the kal v'chomer will tell you piatzma also. Ubedemaislo bekal v'chomer dayol lova minadin liyas kinadin. The kal v'chomer, that you learned it from, the thing that you learned should be limited to the thing you learned it from. What are you learning from? You're learning from acherim. Ma mushba pi acherim. Bezdin in shlei bezdin loy. Af mushba pi atzma if they bezdin in shlei bezdin loy. Right. Good. So that would work. So the chachamim, their source, what is this kal v'chomer? Their source is this kal v'chomer. Hey, says the May would not learn this kal v'chomer, right? So we're changing. It's not a Gzera Shava, it's a Kal V'chomer within Eidus itself. Good? In Eidus itself. Papa. Mimotzes Amit the Lav B'doin Mino Umino Pligi. How could you possibly say that they don't learn Doik Mino Mina? In other words, we had a great way of explaining this. There's Doik Mino Mina, and the Chacham say Doik Mina V'ukia Basra. So how do you know that how do you know that doesn't? How do you know that that's not machlokes? For Tanan, Nasser on Laman Aleph from the base, about 10 lines down. But Tanan Gabi Pikodin, Shevuous HaPikodin, Nehegis Bad Nashim. A Shvu of a Pikodin can be by men, Benashim women, Berechoikim non-relatives, Bekroivim relatives, Beksherim, by people of Koshel Edis, Ubipsulim. B'fnei bezdin ushaloi b'fnei bezdin mipi atzmai. You hear what it says? By mipi atzmai is afilu shaloi b'fnei bezdin. Mipi acheir remein achai by shichapa by bezdin. Div Remeya. In other words, Remeya's shita by Shevuous HaPikadon is the same shita as he holds by Shevuous Eidus. Same shita that shaloi that if it's b'fnei atzmai afilu shaloi b'fnei bezdin. The chacham moimim bein b'fnei atzmai bein b'fnei acheirim. Kivin shekafa. Boy, once you deny that you have the Pikadon. Chayev, Chayev, Mushba mipi acherim pikad min Allahu, the Rabbanan the Chayev. How do the Rabbanan know that Mushba pi acherim? How do you know you Chayev? How do you know by pikadon where it says Asher Yishava Alav? How do you know it's other people making you swear that you Chayev? Lav de Gemiri lo me'edis. It must be learned from edis. Yishma mina b'doik mina umina pligi. No, it's just like edis is Chayev b'fnei bezdin shlei b'fnei bezdin. Pi acherim not pi acherim. So too what is Shevuous HaPikadon? So too is what is Shevuous HaPikadon? If you look at Rashi, Rashi gives you the limud. Lav de Gemir Lume Edus, where it goes down about 4 lines. The HaPikadon, it says Asher Yishava Alav L'Shaker, Ksiv. Mashma Piatzmai. So it's Masha Shevuous HaPikadon, you yourself are swearing. No one's causing you to swear. You're initiating the Shua. But Hachaleka L'Meidin Kal V'chomer, you can't learn a Kal V'chomer. The Vade Mushma Piatzmai, Chamame Mushma Biacherim. By Shevuous HaPikadon, it's more Chomer yourself than others. El Migzer Shava Gemir Lami Edus. We learn a Gzer Shava from Edus. Right. Chayev Bezdin, Ushalei Bezdin, right? And when Edus is Chayev, Sayim Bezdin, Shleim in Bezdin, Shevuous Edus. Guys, Shevuous Edus is Chayev in Bezdin and Shalom in Bezdin. So now, you're learning Pikadon from Bezdin. You're learning Shevuous HaPikadon from Shevuous Eidus. And just like Shevuous Eidus is Chayiv in Bezdin, Shleim B'nei Bezdin, Alma Doin Mina, Vuki Basros Rilu. It must be, they hold, that what? You're learning from it, and you're keeping this place. Miacha Shaboy Mipi Acherim L'chal Shevuous HaPikadon, Hemidu B'Torah Shevuous HaPikadon. Shein Shevuous B'Bezdin, Mufurish Ba. It doesn't say what? That Shvuah it doesn't say. It doesn't say that. 1 second. Mitchay Bezdin, Ushleb Bezdin, Alma Doin Mino, Vugi Basros Rilu. Me'acha Sha'abos Mipi Acherim, L'chal Shevuous HaPikadon, right? That Hemidu B'Torah Shevuous HaPikadon. Shein Shevuous B'Bezdin, Mufurish Ba. How do you know that Pikadon and Piacherim will be Chayev, fellas? How do you Pikadon and Piacherim will be Chayev? It must be that you learn Shevuous HaPikadon from Shevuous Eidus. Shevuous Eidus says B'Shama Kol Allah. That means other people are making you swear. By Pikodin, it says Asher Yishav Alav. So how do you know me by Shuas HaPikodin? How do you know me pi acherim? It must be you learn what from Shavuos Edis. Good. So now, how did you learn that? It must be you learned that because of the Gezerah Shava. Now, says the by Shavuos HaPikodin, says Reb Meir, will continue to learn. Says Reb Meir, we'll continue to learn.
Please, I don't understand. Once you have Shevuous Bekadin, isn't automatic? Isn't
Just-
automatically Biatzmo from
No.
Biacherim?
No, Shavuos Matzah means
What's Atzmo? What should be automatic Biacherim?
no. You're limited to what it says in the Torah. It says by Pikodin, it says Kol Asher Yishav Alav L'Shaker, that you're swearing. That's me piatzmai. Then you go ahead and you have, it says with Shama Kol Allah, it's piacherim. So you see that it's two different parshias. So if you hold me piatzmai by Shuas Eidis, it must be you learned it from Shuas HaPikodin. And if you hold me piacherim, it must be that you learned Shuas Pikodin from Shuas Eidis. When you have a limud, you see it's not. Why would you say it's not a svara?
Okay, all right.
Rashi's saying the Kal V'chomer doesn't exist. Okay. So I'm just. Okay, I got it. Okay, let's look back at the words of the Brisa, guys. It's really the Mishnah. Oh, it says V'tanan, about 10 lines down, V'tanan. We want to prove that we learn Doik Mina Umina, that's the Machlokes. Gapi Pikodin, okay? Shavuos HaPikodin leheges ba'noshim u'v'noshim b'rechoikim u'b'kroivim b'ksherim u'b'psulim b'fnei bezdin u'shloi b'fnei bezdin b'fnei atzmoi u'b'fnei acherim and b'fnei atzmoi. Stop. So according to Reb Meir, that it's in bezdin and not in bezdin. It's in bezdin and it's not in bezdin, right? That's according to Reb Meir. When we pi acherim and chayiv, at sheyich b'boy b'bezdin. And pi acherim, you need it in bezdin. Div Reb Meir, v'chacham moimim, bein b'fnei atzmoi, u'bein b'fnei acherim, kivin shekafa bo chayiv, right? Mushba mi pe'achem. Okay, now, where it doesn't say anything about Bezdin over here, right? It doesn't say anything about Bezdin. Chum say, bein ba'atzmoi, bein ba'acherim, you're going to be what? Chayiv. Bein b'atzmoi, bein ba'acherim, chayiv. Now, fellas, there are two things to learn from Eidos. Guys, look at my hands. There's two things to learn from Eidos. One, that it's in Bezdin, and two, it's mipi acherim. Good. Here you have Machlokes the Chachamim Reb Meir, Pikodin to Shavuos Eidos. What are we learning? That mipi acherim works. Because again, it says Kol Asher Yishav L'Shaker by what? By Pikodin, which means yourself, only yourself. How do you know acherim, fellas? How do you know acherim? Only because of the dinyan to Shavuos Eidos, right? Now, what else is about to say by Shavuos Eidos? It says Bezdin too. But Chacham doesn't mention Bezdin. You know why? Because Doik Mina V'uki Abasra. You learn out one thing, but not learning both things. Reb Meir is learning out both things. Reb Meir is learning out what? He's learning out Acherim and Bezdin. And the Chacham are learning only Acherim. That's it. So how could you tie up previously, Rav Papa, that it's a Kal V'chomer from Eidos itself, and you don't need Pikodin at all, and you clean out Madach Acherim Mechayev Atzmei, certainly so. You see from Pikodin, the Mishnah Pikodin, the Machlokes must be in Doik Mina Vugi Basra. So the Gemara concludes, you're right. Says the Gemara, Einachinami, you're right. Says the Gemara, Einachinami, you're right. Ushma mina bedoyin mino umino upligi. Says the Gemara, Mehachi, from Shavuos Eidos itself, in Ein. Shavuos Pikodin, yes, in. Mehol lekel mashma mina. In other words, from the Brisa that we just brought, the Mishnah we just brought Pikodin, you could bring a raya doik mina. But from Shavuos Eidos, you can't. Again, we began the daf, guys, in this sugya that the Machlokes the Chachamim and Reb Meir was from Shavuos Eidos. And you're learning Shavuos Eidos from Pikodin. And we wanted to say the Machlokes was just like Pikodin is B'fnei Atzmo, so to what? So just like Eidos is in Piacherim, so to just like this is Mipi Atzmo, so too this is Mipi Atzmo. Right? And we want to say, just like this is chutz lebezdin, so too this is chutz lebezdin. That was Reb Meir. And the Chacham say, no, it's only what? Mifnei atzmoi, but not chutz lebezdin. That was the limud. And we want to say the machloikas was doik mino, mino. Reb Papa said, you're not, I can learn pshat based upon a kal v'chaymer. Madach mepi acher michayev, certainly mepi atzmoi yichayev. So I read the Gemara from Pikadin. You see Pikadin, fellas, the machloikas has to be in doik mino and mina. Says the Gemara, you're right. All Rav Papa was saying is from the Mishnah and Shevuous HaEdis itself, you don't have the limud. From the Mishnah and Shevuous HaPikadon, you do have the limud. From the Mishnah and Shevuous HaEdis, you don't have it, because the Mishnah and Shevuous HaEdis can be explained. Okay, that was the Gemara. Okay, the Mishnah concluded. The Mishnah concluded with some tifa verta. But says the Mishnah, let's see, Mishnah on Lamed. V'chayavim, it says v'chayavim al zodain hashvua v'al shigagasa. That's what it said. So the Gemara says v'chayavim, back by us, v'chayavim korban shvua on edis al zodan hashvua, when you knew you made the shvua, you knew what you were doing. Minani mili, the Tanur Rabbanon. How do you know you're chayiv from mezid? Guys, this is a huge chiddush. You're bringing a korban on mezid, right? How do you know you're chayiv for a korban on mezid? Minalan, bekulon, by all the korban oil of yored, by shuas bitoy and by tumas mitzvah shkedashav, nemaben v'nelam. What does v'nelam mean? It was hidden from them. V'kan, by Shevuous HaEdis, loy nemra ba v'nelam. It doesn't say v'nelam. You know why it's not v'nelam? Because it wasn't v'nelam. It wasn't hidden from you. You knew what you were doing. Therefore, the chiddush is yichayivad b'mezid. Okay? Kishoygeg. Now it also said the Mishnah, val shigagasa im zodon ha'edus. Now, what does that mean? Im shigagasa, you're shoygeg on the chatas, but you're zodin on the shvua. Heichidami. Shigagas on him Zadon Eidus. Why is the Shigagas with Zadon Eidus that you be chayav a korban? Amrav Yehuda Amarav, but Oimer, the one who swears falsely says, Yodeya ani sheshvua zu asura. I know you're not allowed to swear this. Aval eni yodeya im chayav mala korban aloi. I don't know if you chayav a korban or not. In that case, you're still going to be in korban olav yored. That's you chayav for Zadon Eidus. The Shigag and Chatas mean I didn't know I'm going to be in korban Chatas. And finally, the Mishnah said, you thought that what? That you thought you knew, you thought you didn't know Edis. You swore falsely. Well, you didn't swear falsely in your mind. You swore that what? That I didn't know Edis. And afterwards you remembered that you did. Good. So since at this time it's not considered the shaker, right? A l'chayra. Hold on a second. You won't be chayiv on the shoygeg. You're not chayiv on the shoygeg. If you shoygeg completely, you didn't know it all, right? It's not convenient that you swore falsely. So, fellas, if a guy asks you to say edis and you knew the edis, but you forgot you knew the edis, and you swore to that fact, and then you remembered that what? That you knew. You put them on a korban. This is the exact opposite of normal. Normally, it's made that you get malchus, shogi you get a korban. Here's the opposite. The amazing you bring a korban, but shogi you off the hook. Okay. Now we had a Gemara. I would ask you to turn back to Chavav. Chavav Amid Aleph. The first wide line. Al helam shvua hu chayiv in chayiv al helam chayfetz. And we said, Amamar, ha'odam b'shvua, we said the pasuk, ha'odam b'shvua, prat la'onos. Heichi domi, what's an onos? Ki Rav Kahana Rav Asi. Ki avikaimi mikame de Rav, mar ama shvuasa dehachi amarav, umar ama shvuasa dehachi amarav. Ki asal kame de Rav, ama kechad minayu, he said like one of them. Ama lei idach, v'adna b'shikrish taboy. Meaning I swore falsely. Amalei libcha anascha. Your heart tricked you. You thought otherwise, right? Meaning that's honest, guys. When you swore and you thought you were right, when you swore and you thought you were right, that is the case of what of honest that you put from an oil of yored. That was the dialogue that Rav was mechadish over there. That was the dialogue that Rav was mechadish over there. Okay, so now, ve'in chayav and korma shigas grei dasa says no lema tanino l'derav kahana u'derav ashi. Okay, let's see what is that Rashi. Lema tanino l'derav kahana ravasi the heicha the sava lishava be'emes ein a chayiv. V'amaydim estapikle the itzrich rav l'meima lahu libcha nascha. Fellas, did Tanoim do the Mishnayos? Yeah, I think so. Do you have an often a Mishnah saying that if you're a shoygig on a shvu you pata? So what was Rav paskening? What was the whole Shaila Rav Kana Ravasi that you need a Rav to tell him libcha nascha? It's before Mishnah. So I afraid the Gemara. Okay, so says the Gemara Leimer Tanino Rav Kana Ravasi. Says the Gemara Loi. It's not a good sushtel. It's not a good sushtel. Afa gabdet nan. Even though we learned in our Mishnah that a Shevuous this shoygig is pater, it's the Rav. You need a Rav to tell me by Shevuous bitoy that you pater. Salkadei chaminan hacha over here by Shevuous this. You know why you pater the loy kasiv and nelam the beinian shoygig dum you demezit. Guys, over here it doesn't say v'nelam, right? Since it doesn't say v'nelam, it's hidden from you. You need the shoygeg where it is hidden you, dum and demezid. Just like Mazid, you knew about it, so too the shvua that I made, I had to know about it. And therefore I'm off the hook. I'm off the hook. You know why? Because my shoygeg is not dimin mazid. Over here, you have to know. And over here I didn't know. So that's not the Parsha Shevuous Eidus. Not knowing is out of the Parsha because it it doesn't say v'nelam. That means you had to know. But once I didn't know, so I'm not here at all. That's why you say you pater. Abul Hassan by Shevuous Bitoy. Tichsiv in Nelam. It says Taka Lashon of Alama. Shafilu Shigagasa Kolstuhu. I would say that what? Even a shoygeg, when he's an honest, you'll be chayiv. Kemash Milan Rav. That when you thought you were right, that you're an honest. So therefore, you could not go ahead and answer up the shaila of Rav by Shevuous Bitoy from Shevuous Eidus. Shevuous Eidus is a no-brainer. What? Because once you know, you're out. You were never in. Mashenkin over there, it says v'nelam, even a little bit, I would think Yechayev, Kamash Malon, if you thought you were right, you put completely. That's the Chiddush Rav. Okay, we'll stop over here. There's a Gemara in Yevamis, Ayin Vav, Amid Beis, Ayin Zayin. The Gemara is describing when David went out to kill Goliath, as he's walking out to kill Goliath. Says Shaul to Avner, Ben Mizehana Avner. Who is this guy? Now the Gemara says, what are you talking about? Of course, Shaul knew who David was. David was his weapons carrier. David played music for him when he was in his state of depression to make him feel better. So he knew who he was. Says the Gemara, you know what he was asking? He wanted to know if he came from Zerach or he wanted to know if he came from Peretz. Because Yehuda had twins. If he came from Zerach, he'll be a chashva guy. If he came from Peretz, Melech is Peretz Gedorim, the Melech, he could be a Melech. And I guess Shaul knew he had lost the Malchus because it had been taken away from him. The Ruach Gevur Malchus had been taken away from him. And as a result, he wasn't the same as he was. And he was very, what's the word, paranoid. I guess the word paranoid about the other king. And he felt David might be the other king. So, Doeg Adomi, the Abe Haroyim, we met Doeg in Sanhedrin. He lived around this Russia Marusha. He lived to half his life. He caused Shaul to hate David and wanted to cause tremendous schism between them. Says, why are you asking whether he's Zerach and Peretz? Ask a better question. Ask if he's right to come to Kal Hashem or not. After all, he comes from Basam Aviyah. So Avner says, we said Mayavi Aviyah. Says Daeg, Mamzev le Mamzeres. But that's not true. We know even the female Mamzeres is not allowed in Kal Hashem. So we're making this distinction. So the matter came in front of, it was handling back and forth. The person, Yisraeli, takes a sword, sticks it, and goes, anyone who goes ahead is over on this, I'm going to take the sword and kill them, right? It's a kvar. Gomer mibezne shel shmuel ramasi mayavi u'lamavia. As I state in the Gemara, there's a mud in the Gemara. Many years before, Boaz had gone ahead and paskin that you can marry Rus. What's going on over here? Why is this? It's still a shaila. Like, Boaz was the Gadol Hadar. He was the Gadol Hadar. He paskin that you could. Now, years later, Dayeg is a huge Talmud Chacham for sure, huge scholar, huge Torah scholar for sure, and it wasn't clear that they had to go ahead and say from the Bezdin to Shmuel Ramasi. What exactly is going on over here? This is the question that the world asks. Looking in the parsha of Rus, the idea of Yibum even in a non-brother. The concept of a family member continuing the name of the concept of Gilgul Haneshama, that we will speak out tonight. We won't speak out now. The concept of the Mishnah going into another person and being named after that person, we'll speak that out tonight, Bez Hashem. But we see that's the whole Inyan because Machlon had an uncle named Ploni Almoini. He was the brother of Elimelech, who was Machlon's father, and Boaz was a cousin. He wasn't Mad. He was the son of a brother. He wasn't the uncle himself. And the shaila was, who's going to go ahead and perform this levirate marriage? Who's going to go ahead and take Machlon's place and marry Rus? So Rus, we know, gets dressed up in the middle of the night, goes to Boaz, uncovers his legs, and he said, listen, you're right, but I'm not the closest relative. Yeah, I'm not the closest relative. Let's see who's the closest relative. It's a guy named Ploni Almoni, when it's Tov, whatever. Next day, they gathered together 10 people, and there it is. What does Ploni says? You do it, right? Says Ploni to Rav Chaim Kanievsky, to Rav Moshe Feinstein, says, nah, I'm not going to do it. You know why? Pen ashkes nachlasi. I'm worried that I'm going to go ahead and be mashkes my nachla. It's going to create a pagam in my mishpacha. You, Rav Moshe, do it. You, Rav Chaim, do it. Me, I can't do it, but you. Boyas was the God Ladar. How can you speak this way to the God Ladar? I'm. That's one kasha. Another kasha. Why was he only worried about himself? Why wasn't he worried about himself? He was only worried about what? His children? Why would he worry about himself? I didn't speak to Sad Russell. You never heard this from me. Why was he worried about himself? That doesn't make any sense. So, how can he go ahead and not listen to Boaz? Why was he worried only about his children, not himself? And he tells him to do it. Says the Marsha Gvaldik. The Gemara in Yivam is Hansel. Why can't you be miyabim? We have the concept of why do you need the mitzvah of yibum? You have essay dochalos essay. In other words, once I have the mitzvah of yibum, right? It's dochalos essay of what? Of sister-in-law. So it ends up sister-in-law's karvis ein essay dochalos essay sheish bakarvis, but a regular loisase it could. I commit tzitzis made from shatnis. Midaraisa. I have the mitzvah of tzitzis, and I have the loisase what of leisil b'shatnis. So the mitzvah of gedilin kaselacha is like that. Yibum's a mitzvah. Lo yavei amoin amovi b'kal Hashem is a lav. No karis, it's a lav. So the asay what of Yibum, which is only in bia, should be doichet the loisase lo yavei b'kal Hashem. That's, in other words, that would be the heter. In other words, it's not pshat amoyavia is permitted. She's not permitted. There's a lav. But the mitzvah of Yibum would overcome the lav. So why do I need the whole parsha? Lo yavi mayav kal Hashem. Have the mitzvah Yibum. And for the Gemara, they were goyza bia shniya at the bia rishayna. You'd only be mekayim the mitzvah with the ersh bia. After that, there's no more mitzvah. And the mela, you would be asa to live with her if not for the halacha Allah yavi mayavi kal Hashem. It would be asa. Okay. So halta zoy. Says Dayeg, you know what? The mitzvah, you know why Boaz could live with her? because it was a mitzvah of essay dochalos essay, not because it's a het of yibum. Therefore, says Pliny Almoini to him, you do it. I'm worried about my kids. I'm not worried about myself. I have the assay dochalos assay. What I don't have is what? After that. After that, there's no heta. The children will be what? The children will be psulim. So I'm worried about my kids. I can't worry about myself. I have a heta. At least. Now it could be they weren't going to be a rishon that be a shni and be made by us. That was a gzeir derabbanan. So it could be later on. So it could be that you had a heta to live. But if you don't have if there's no isser if there is a isser of my avi and my avia, all the children will be shot. You'd have a head to live with her, but you wouldn't be able to go ahead and have children from her unless you had the halacha of my avi and my avia. Boaz lives with her. Now, Boaz doesn't have to worry about children. You know why? They're all dead. The Gemara in Baba Basra says that he made parties and he didn't invite Manoach, and all his children died. He's 60 parties, they all died. Boaz is 98 years old. He has no parties, no children whatsoever, so nothing to worry about. Good. He lives with her and dies right away. He lives with her, dies the first night. What do you have, guys? Asay dochalos asay. The fact that he died shows that what must be that lo yovei moyim aviyav kal Hashem. So doig held. You're right. Doig held based upon that cheshbon. You're right. It wasn't pshat, and it wasn't pshat that it was done all the time. Moab was in Moab. Klal Yisrael lived in. You don't have some. It wasn't a halacha that was used all the time, right? It wasn't a halacha that was used all the time. So Memela, it answers the problem over here. The God Ladar tells you to do something. Well, the God Ladar, he said he didn't have to worry about his kids. I had to worry about my kids, right? I had to worry about my kids. You don't have to worry about your kids. You have no kids, right? You want to go ahead, the mitzvah of Yibum, so you do the mitzvah of Yibum. You could do the mitzvah, but you don't have any kids. I'm worried about my kids. Why would the halacha obvious? He died. If he died, it must be he did something wrong. So in Mela, it would make sense. You had the only heter was a say dochalos say. He died. It must be he died because Vaita, you didn't want him living with a Moavia because it's Asa. And therefore the Shaila was still around, be may what? Be may Shaul and David. What was Yisra's answer? We Gomar from the Beis and the Shmuel Ramasi, that what? My Avi v'lei Moavia. Says in Medrash, this is a Bach, says in Medrash that there was no reason for Sefer Rus. There's no halacha there. Even though there's the halacha of Chalipin, there's no halacha there. The only reason was written for two reasons. One, to show the great chesed of Rus and Ami to each other. And secondly, to Miyachas David. At the end of Sefer Rus, you have the whole lineage. It starts from Peretz, had this and this and this, this. That's the whole purpose. You know who wrote Sefer Rus, guys? Shmuel. It's kind of funny. Shmuel wrote Sefer Rus. Says the Bach. Sefer Rus is the tshuva to that shaila. The shaila wada with Mayavila Me'avia is Ladek Kal Hashem. The tshuva was Sefer Rus. That's the tshuva. That was Shmuel's tshuva. And that's Miyaches, and that puts it all together. It answers the Gemara, it answers the problems, and therefore you know unequivocally that Moavim la Mavia.